Okay, so finally the person with their hovercraft has stopped testing it, so I can get back to my test. So just to recap, I'm doing a test between a Nikon D800, which I've had for about 2 years, Nikon D750, which I just picked up yesterday, and a Canon 6D. It's three very different cameras. Just on a little side note, I'm actually recording audio on this little Rode. It's the Smartlav Plus, and at the moment I'm recording video on the Canon 6D, and this is something that's such a great feature. Your live view and your video recording settings are linked, so whenever you switch from live view to video, the settings match up, so you can easily start recording. With the Nikon, I don't know why, but it's different between live view and video recording. Okay, I just have to make a quick point of this. Let's see if I can get my exposure down. One thing I really do like about the Canon, with the live view, we have the current selected exposure set by default. Whereas with the Nikons, it's not on by default. You have to go into a sub-menu or set it elsewhere. So what you're seeing through the live view on the Nikons is not really what you're actually shooting. So you have to enable that. Thank you, Canon. So I'm still recording with the Rode Smartlav Plus, just on my cell phone quickly. Just about to hit the road and conduct further tests with the Nikon D750, the Nikon D800 and the Canon 6D. And I'm actually at the moment in two minds about where I want to go. One half of me wants to go along to the coast, and the other half wants me to go to Wine Valley in Franschhoek. It's such a beautiful day today. Let's see where the road takes me. Okay, so this is where I ended up at Table Mountain. It's quite a clear and gorgeous day today. So this is going to be excellent for testing. Just look at all those buildings. Loads of details in those buildings. Those blips are just some gangsters letting off steam. Or it could be a bat, who knows. Definitely sounds like a bat. So many people here today. I'm gonna try and I'll just blur people out. Isn't that beautiful? Just look at that shit. 12 apostles. Nikon D750. ISO 3200 f2.8 and 25th of a second. Okay, so we have the 6D and batteries running low. Shit. Okay, so this image was originally shot underexposed by 3 stops, as you can see here. So it was shot quite dark there. It was shot quite dark and brought up to +3 exposure. Now I did the same for the Nikon D750, which is this image, and also the same for the Canon 6D, which is this image. Okay, then the next set, these were actually overexposed. So this is the Nikon D800, and the exposure looked like this, so that's a horribly overexposed image. Pull down, it looks very well. I have to say all 3 cameras did very well on each 3 of these tests. So this is the Carl Zeiss 100mm f2 lens, which is of course super sharp, shot at f11 on the D800. And if we zoom in here, you can see it's very sharp. I mean, there's so much detail that it's captured here. And, on the Canon, exactly the same lens,
And on the D750, exactly the same lens. I did, however, pick up this sort of, there's like a colored pattern going on here. And I do believe that is due to the raw converter. Or yeah, I'm not sure, but if you look at the D800, it's just not there. Move over to extreme backlight. Now this was a Nikon 28mm 2.8 lens, and this was quite interesting, the results here. So in this kind of image you will pick up chromatic aberration, and on the D800 it's extremely strong. You can see here on the trees, this would almost be not a usable shot. This is just terrible. But if you go into the Canon, on exactly the same lens, it's gone. And as we will see on the D750, it's a clean image. Also, no chromatic aberration. I did a ISO 6400 test between the 60 and the D750. I did not even want to attempt with the D800 as I knew it would not be the same. So 60 here, 6400, and I did really well. To me, that's a very usable image. No noise reduction was introduced at all. Obviously, if you bump this up, you can get a lot cleaner image. But I decided to leave it as is and check it against the D750. They are pretty much the same. ISO 1000, 2-second exposure, D800. Canon 60 and Nikon D750. And yeah, I can only say that all three cameras performed really well here. I would have to say that maybe the Canon and the Nikon D750 gave me better results. Dare I say that? Yes, I dare. Now these next images were just a friend of mine who came in and did some modeling for me, just so I could get a taste of what the D750 does to skin tones, and as I imagined it would be very similar to the 60, and it was. So this is the 6D. For this I used the Canon 50mm f1.4, and with the Nikon obviously I used the Nikon's 50mm f1.4. Those two lenses could have been made in the same factory. They are so much alike, it's ridiculous. If you go in here on skin tones, they are so closely matched. But I had to say, shooting with the D750, there was just something to do with the way the shutter sounds. In the beginning, I did not like the sound of the shutter at all, but I did some more shots with her, and I just really liked the way the Nikon worked. The shutter sound, the speed, everything was just, it was really a joy to shoot that camera. And a while ago I actually I was a model for a friend of mine who was testing out his D810, and he did some shots of me, and we were outside, and he was probably about 3 meters away from me, and he was shooting and I was standing, and I kind of looked at him and I asked him, okay, when are you going to start? And he told me, well, I'd already taken like 20 shots. And I was shocked at how quiet the D810 shutter was, and at first I was amazed. I thought, this is incredible. That shutter is so incredibly soft. But then I realized that if you're shooting a model, most models would react on shutter actuation. So usually in a studio you would have music going, obviously flashes would pop up, but if you're outside, and you're shooting and you don't know, you can't hear the shutter going, you might just, that could be I could see that as a problem. It would be brilliant for reportage. So if they had that in the D750, I mean, it would be great at weddings, just to like blend in, like a ninja, and just silently shoot. So some of these tests, I only tested the Canon 60 and the Nikon D750 against each other. This is a very, very high contrast situation. I basically wanted to see how much detail inside the room I could capture as amount of, not detail, but more dynamic range inside and outside. This is more a dynamic range test. Now both did pretty well, retaining the highlights. What struck me was the shadow details. Let me just show you what the image looked like. Alright, now we're gonna see where the Nikon completely kicks ass in the shadow details here. So I'm just gonna zoom in there, and you can immediately see where obviously if you have to shoot something like this, you would shoot a couple of exposures if you need to have like a dynamic range image, but it's very interesting to note that the Nikon it's just gorgeous the way it retains all the shadow details. So just before we continue, I just wanted to jump in here. Speaking of resolution, I've got two images here. One is Mystery Cam 2 and one is Mystery Cam 1. So at the moment Mystery Cam 2 is enabled. I will reveal the identity of the mystery cameras in a second, but let's just zoom in here for a second. We're at 125%. 2 and Mystery Cam 1. So I'm going to move down here. So Mystery Cam 1, Mystery Cam 2, Mystery Cam 1, Mystery Cam 2. They're both shot at f8 ISO 100. And if you find it difficult to tell which one is a higher resolution, don't feel bad. So now for the reveal. Okay, so Mystery Cam 1 is a D800 and Mystery Cam 1, sorry, I think I got that wrong. Mystery Cam 2 is a D800. Mystery Cam 1 is a Hasselblad H4D40. They are very close. I think the only thing that's holding the Nikon back is the fact that the 2470 lens on the Nikon is not able to hold the resolution of the D800 sensor. The Hasselblad, of course, they have superior lenses that are able to hold that resolution. But come on, Nikon, give us better glass, please. I was very impressed with this. So that's just a little sideline. Now back to the real test.
What we're going to be doing now is purely a shutter test. So first up here is the D800, and it is set to 100th of a second. Let's make it 125. Okay, and okay, now the Nikon D750, 125. And next up the Canon 6D, set to 125. Canon is definitely the softest, I mean the quietest. What makes it soft is that the shutter actually feels soft when you depress the shutter button. It actually feels like you're squishing jelly or something. But nothing wrong with squishing jelly. My sort of closing thoughts. Let's start with the D800. Really, really awesome camera. I've had this one the longest out of the three. I picked it up just as they came out, and I was unfortunately one of the unlucky ones which picked up a camera with autofocusing issues. So it spent another week at Nikon before it was fixed. Luckily, I did not have the green cast problem. So this has been a bit of a workhorse for me. For weddings, it was just an overkill for me. To have that amount of files after a wedding, that size, I always had to resize it. It's just phenomenally big. For commercial jobs, anything you need to print big, landscape artwork, this is a must-have. That's actually why I bought a 6D in January. I think it was January or February, because I needed a second-hand camera, and I just was not impressed with anything else that Nikon had. The D600 and D610 did not impress me at all. But this camera has been very, very impressive. I mean, the autofocus, everything about this camera is just phenomenal. If you are starting out right now and you're looking for the cheapest option, the best cheapest option, get a 6D. Don't even think about anything else. You can go buy two 6Ds and pick up, you know, awesome glass. This is really, really an amazing little camera. Autofocus is phenomenal. I was shocked at how good it was in low light, especially at weddings. I couldn't really find any fault with this camera. It's really been. I just always wondered why they didn't have a pop-up flash. I would have figured that, you know, this sort of level of camera would have a pop-up flash. And then of course, Magic Lantern. Fuck yeah, Magic Lantern. That's one of the other reasons why I bought this camera. Magic Lantern is phenomenal, and you know, kudos to those guys for what they're putting in and what they're getting. So D750, yeah, really starting to like this camera a lot. It's an amazing little camera. Autofocus is amazing. Low light, high ISO low light is just phenomenal. And it's great that it's using the same batteries as the D750. Yeah, it bugs me that it doesn't use a compact flash, but luckily it does have dual card slots, which the 60 does not have. So, you know, if you do need to back up as you're shooting, this will definitely be a better choice. Also, the ability to customize the file names and save, you know, what's the word? You know, like older generation non-computer chip lenses. You can save the data, as with all Nikons, and it'll actually record that. Same job. So, final question: which one would you get? I'd say if you're starting out, definitely go for a Canon. If you're living in South Africa, just to give you an idea, what the 750 costs here. The 750 in South Africa is just shy of what you would pay in the States for a brand new D810. So D750 in South Africa costs almost, it's just shy of what a D810 costs in the States. So that's just to give you an idea of what we're paying for Nikon gear in South Africa. A new D810 is just, I don't even want to go there. It's close to it's over $5,000, okay, which is ridiculous. So you would have had to sell your D800, which, you know, thanks to the D750, people won't be able to do. And I would also recommend people do not go buy a second-hand D800 when you can buy a brand new D750. I mean, this camera is just phenomenal. 60 frames per second video. If you're doing video, this is definitely the camera to get. You know, the outputs to ProRes, and it's, you know, this new flip screen is definitely handy for loads of video reasons. So unfortunately, this D800, the D810 is actually what the D800 should have been from the beginning. So this is it's kind of like the D600. It's like a slap in the face. I don't know why Nikon did that, but anyways. So those are my thoughts, and yeah, only thing So on the D750 the battery sits this way and not in the hand grip like they used to, like this. And I can foresee a big problem when you're using bigger base plates for tripods. If you're shooting a bigger rig, you're gonna run into battery compartment problems, and that's gonna irritate the hell out of you. So this was not a good idea. I think they should have had it this way. It would have made this a little bit thicker, because this just feels, it's nice and deep, but it's really thin. I don't have big hands, but I've got long fingers, and it just, that's the only thing. I'll probably have to get a padded grip, or I don't know, maybe MacGyver a piece of rubber in here.
Just a still life shoot of a Glock 19 airsoft pistol on my new Wacom tablet. Shot it with all three cameras on a tripod, multiple exposures, Nikon D800, and overlaid Nikon D3 file. You can see it's a lot smaller. Okay, next up D750. Then lastly we have the Canon 60, which obviously falls in between the Nikon D3 and the Nikon D750. So there we have it. That's D750, Canon 60, and a 12 megapixel D3.